Welcome back, watch fans. We have amazing news in the world of Patek Philippe. That's right, a new milestone price, a new benchmark price for Patek Philippe, $17 million and change from Philips. That's right, they sold a watch for $17 million. You Google it, that's right. Now, the question is, what kind of window liquor, cryoneator, and Palmolive dish soap drinker would pay $17 million for that watch? I'm shocked, actually. Now, what was the watch? Now, you Google it, you look it up, because we can't be putting up, these pictures, thumbnails, because we're not getting paid on this channel. We haven't had any donations this month, so we're cutting back on services. That's right, we're cutting back on services. So you Google it. Now, this watch sold for $17 million. It was a perpetual calendar, 19. Well, here's the thing, by the way. All the cryoneators, all these watch journalists, that's right, the watch media, the watch journalism, the watch-osphere, I don't know what you call it, the chomo stand. We're talking about the Hodinkis, all these Bukiak channels. All these guys, basically, they're all like, they don't have any original ideas. They're all basically, their favorite word is the I word. That's right, iconic. Everything is iconic and this and that. It's that, I blame that Bukiak climber, who could have started it. I mean, because they all copycat. I don't know why these guys, they all copy. I mean, he's like the what's the word? Not the thought leader, but this guy. I mean, you know what Hodinki is in the watch journalism? It's like this street fair. You got these grifters and all sorts of like low end crap being peddled by also lowlives, and overpriced, and you can get this shit like on Alibaba. I mean, this is where they get it, on Alibaba, whatever. I don't know. And then they have food trucks. That's right, they got food trucks. Unbelievable. That's what I want to do. I want to pay more than in a restaurant to eat from some guy who's making food in the back of his truck. Some Puerto Rican hubcap thief in a truck. He's making tacos with who knows what's going in them, because you're never going to see this guy again. He's off to the next grift, right? These food truck people, you can't trust them. Anyway, the food trucks are like Hodinki and the watch media. You get this original artwork, unbelievable. This is like Martin Wong. Anyway, so what's going on, my friends, is that this watch sold for $17 million. It's a perpetual calendar. Was it a chronograph? Yeah, I think it's a chronograph also. Now, why is this watch worth $17 million? It's a stainless steel watch, and you know how we feel about stainless steel shitters. Now, of course, in the case of Patek Philippe, steel is actually more valuable. Why? Because it's rare. Patek knows that steel is the metal. It doesn't have demineral repelling properties, and steel is basically garbage. That's right, steel is garbage, so they don't make steel watches, generally speaking. So when they do, I mean, this is the irony. Do you understand the irony? Is this guy's hood open, or what is it? The trunk? I don't know what they call it. What are we talking about? That's right, we're talking about grifters. Patek, steel watches. Now, by the way, they're actually very collectible. So, and I think there's some money to be made in some 70s Patek models in steel. We're not talking Nautilus. Now, this is only for the aristocrats. But let me talk about this watch. Now, all these guys are raving. All these Bukiaks, Hodinki, all these Bukiaks are raving about the watch. I kind of blah, blah, blah. And they kind of missed the whole context. They missed the most interesting part about it. Well, okay, so why is it worth the money? First of all, let me tell you this much. That watch will never, whoever bought it, it's dead money. Because what happens is when you buy the high water mark in like one of these very like public, in a very public sale, everybody knows what you paid. So in other words, the air becomes very thin at the top. Whether you're talking about art, you're talking about diamonds, whatever it is. These cars, except real estate. Real estate is different because real estate. They're not making more of it. I don't know. It's different. But when you talk about collectible assets, which nobody wants, that's the thing. Nobody really needs any of this crap, right? What are you talking about, Bugattis? What are you talking, whatever? Nobody needs this garbage, right? So it's and the thing is, everybody who, so in other words, when you pay 70 million, the underbidder, right? The underbidder or whatever, or there's probably a few underbidders, one or two maybe underbidders. They were willing to pay 15 million or whatever, and so they stopped, right? Are they going to? Now, you think you're going to sell to them for 25 million a year from now? No, because these guys are smart. You think somebody who's got 70 million to blow on a watch is a bukyak? No, the guys are, they are very tough customers, okay? And they don't want to feel stupid because they missed out paying, 17 million. They're not going to pay you 25 million now. It's never going to happen, right? And it's such a high, it's such a public thing that nobody's going to, it's just never going to happen. Now the question is the watch worth 17 million? I don't know what's so special about the watch. By the way, it's a good looking watch. Even though it's got the windows, it's a good looking watch. If you see the pictures of it, it's really beautifully done. Like, you're like, wow, they did like everything perfect. It's in great condition, which the condition matters for these things. Now, what these bukyaks though missed, and it's rare. I think they made 4 watches, but who gives a shit? It's an old watch. It's an old steel watch. Okay, it's like imagine a Universal Genève. Actually, did they make a perpetual? No, they didn't. But anyway, this watch, okay, I think this was the first. This was like kind of like one of the first perpetuals. Honestly, here's the thing. Here's okay. So let me give you kind of how I look at, let's call it collectible assets or whatever it is, right? How I would judge it. Are you going to get laid owning that item? Okay. Are you going to impress anybody? I mean, I'm giving it I'm sorry to put it to you in such diplomatic terms, but that's what it is. Are you going to impress? In other words, you think you're gonna tell some girl, hey, you want to come back to my place and check out my Mickey Mantle baseball card that's worth, I don't know, 12. By the way, apparently that's another stupid thing. Pokemon baseball cards. You got these bukyaks some of these bukyaks are paying big money for that stuff. Now, let me tell you something. No woman will ever be impressed that you paid $12 million for Mickey Mantle. Now, the only thing she'll be impressed by is that you have $12 million. Maybe, she can get that from you, and whatever, or she can get some high hourly fees from you. But no woman will. You're not going to impress especially any woman of any type of class. We'll call it. No, because it's fucking trash, okay? People who collect baseball cards, all this sports memorabilia, it's basically, basic bitches. They're all basic bitches. The watches are just a step above Pokemon cards. I'm telling you, listen, I have a few watches, I like watches. But the reality is it's a step above Pokemon cards, okay? It's the same kind of mentality. You're not going to impress women. You're not going to get laid having a $17 million watch. Now, if you have a $2 million Picasso or $500,000, whatever it is, I don't know, whatever, women will want to come to your home. Why? You invite them back. The old line, this has been working for hundreds of years. The old line was, come up and take a look at my etchings. That was a line from the Victorian era. Come up and take a look at my etchings. Why? Because women like to be associated with class and whatever. It's a whole thing. It's how do I explain it? You know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain it to you. Okay? They and also other people who have class, right? Am I using the right word? I'm giving it in a very kind of raw, unfiltered. I'm giving it to you like the reality, right? So you're not gonna when you have. By the way, we're using low numbers. We're not talking like, let's use the same number. Let's use the 10 million number, the 5-10 million number, because these watches. They had a couple other watches sold for 5-10 million, which is ridiculous, right? I mean, these are mass-produced items. These watches are mass-produced. Okay, so there's no. Don't get mixed up. Don't let these tomato cans roll you. Okay, these. They're all working in conjunction. The Hodinkis, the Phillips. By the way, the Phillips catalog writers. I mean, it's the same people who write for Hodinki products. It's just, they use the same type of language. One of a kind. This, that. They're scholars. I mean, it's Look at this. Now that's a real clock, okay? There you go. That looks like the clock. They have one in, I think, in Prague. They have some sort of clock. It's like that type of clock. Listen, we give you cultural tourism here. We're giving you cultural tourism on this channel, right? Anyway, for $5-10 million, okay, you can get like you can get a Rembrandt for $5 million, okay? Rembrandt, you know who that is? You Google it, okay? You Google Rembrandt. You can get well, not a Caravaggio, but you can get some. You can get you can get a Monet for you can get a good Monet for $2 million. That's right. You know who that is? You Google it. And by the way, why do I use Impressionist Monet? I use these Impressionists like that. Monet, not Matisse, what's his name? Renoir. Renoir is also cheap, very undervalued. Renoir, Monet, Renoir. By the way, these Impressionists, you will get laid with Impressionists because everybody loves Impressionist paintings. Okay, and some of them kind of have a modern look. So if you go for the stuff that's a little bit more minimalist and modern, like Monet did some pretty cool stuff later on, that has more relevance and it will stand the test of time. And that's where the needle is moving. That's where the market is moving, right? So, yeah, that you will impress people, okay? And by the way, that will increase in value also. Everybody knows what it's. You got a big, huge market. All the Chinese, okay, want to own Monet. The Japanese, the Indians. Well, I don't know about the Indians, but interestingly, an Indian market has been very hot. Indian art for a while has been had ups and downs. Has had some volatility, but now there's a record set for a. I don't know. I call almost an Indian old master. One of these Mughal paintings. You're the Mughals. You Google them. I sold for like $7 million or something. Some big money. A little painting of like tigers. Beautiful painting. That stuff usually wasn't. You couldn't give that stuff away a while back. But now look, there's a lot of money in India. So what you want to do, my friends, is you want to buy Indian paintings. That's right. You Google it. Now, yours truly. Now, actually, in any developing country, you got to get their cultural assets so that, when these people make money, they'll want to buy it, right? That's right. Anyway, this watch is a piece of garbage. Nobody will ever get their money back from that 17. Oh, here's the best part. Did I tell you the best part? Speaking of BMW. So this watch... these guys are so tone deaf. The guy who wrote this article or whatever, the puff piece, that must have been paid off. I think one of these whole dinky. He says, "Oh yeah, this watch was sold in February 1944 in Budapest. It's got the original receipt or something where the records show it was sold in February of 1944." Right now. Guess what was happening in February of 1944? You Google it. You Google what was going on in Europe in 1944, especially in Hungary. And their neighbors. You ever hear a company? There was a guy with a mustache, a funny guy with a little mustache, prancing around Central Europe. Who was buying Patek Philippe's during that time? Who was buying it? Okay, who was buying Patek Philippe's? By the way, they were never cheap. Okay, even if the watch was $1,000 or whatever it was, they were never cheap. Patek was always like the prices were basically what they are today, except adjusted for inflation, right? But who was buying? People, by the way, there were shortages. Okay, this is the end of the war. Things are getting desperate. This is 1944. Okay, and you Google what's going on in Hungary. The Soviets, the Soviets are advancing, so who's buying watches? Watches is like the last thing people buy, especially like an expensive watch. I mean, that's like the last thing somebody buys. The first thing that people buy is obviously food, food, shelter, right? Then there's women's clothing, children's clothing. Whatever, and men's stuff is last. Okay, whatever stuff men buy, men's toys is the last that people buy in an economy, right? Because nobody, there's other priorities. Usually, that's the way the economy works, right? So who would be buying a watch like that? You're thinking either somebody involved with the Nazi party in Hungary, which basically, by the way, do you know that Hungary was actually, they were allies. That's right, they were part of the Axis. You Google it. And then there was a whole crazy thing that happened. They were part of the Axis, but then Then they weren't really. I think there was an issue with what was the issue? Yeah, the H-man thought that they were going to flip, go to the Russians, or they were going to. I guess the Hungarians didn't want to fight the Russians, and so anyway, he brought his own guys in, and yeah, but basically, so who's buying a Patek perpetual calendar chronograph? Right? Probably members of the Nazi Party, war profiteers, whatever. I don't think it was, the average doctor, unless it was Dr. Mengele, okay? So nobody mentions this. I wonder why Phillips doesn't mention these things. These people, especially these Swiss, they like to whitewash, all their history. But yeah, that watch was probably gifted by the H-man himself. That's right. You Google it. Unbelievable, true. But it's a good-looking watch. Is it worth $17 million? No, it's worth maybe $1 million as like okay, it's a rare, unique thing. Okay, I get it. Maybe whatever. Nobody will ever get their money back from that watch. I guarantee you that watch will never see that anything close to that price again. It was somebody a window lick. Somebody was drank a lot of Palmolive dish soap liquid delivered by Juan and Kino. That's right. They got the Palmolive dish soap enema. That's with that watch. Ridiculous. And there was also some other ridiculous watches. Look, these watches, honestly. Now I'm a fan of vintage watches. But when you get into these levels, it's not. That ain't worth it, okay? Because the only flex factor is if you're like a guy who's like literally close to a trillionaire, and you just like, what, whatever. I got nothing else to do, and I just want to have this watch so I can flex on. Let's say you're like a MBS, Mohammed bin Salam, right? The salami guy, Mohammed bin Salami. This guy. He's got money coming out of every pore in his body. Like literally, you have no idea. Like he's not even a billionaire. It's like you have no idea. Like he can basically, he needs $1 billion. He just invites a couple people over to the Ritz-Carlton for a weekend, and until they hand him over the money. You Google what happened. That's right. The guy. When you get an invite to the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh, think twice before you go. For all paid weekend stay at the Ritz-Carlton, okay? If MBS invites you. And definitely don't go to the Saudi embassy, all right? Unless you want to come out in a pair of shopping bags. Now, look, you Google it now, but maybe that guy would buy that watch to flex on some other, bukiak there, But it really makes no sense. It's a stupid thing, and nobody will ever see the. By the way, that guy actually bought the Da Vinci, which may not even be a real Da Vinci. That's right, the Da Vinci, the famous painting that sold for $400 million, $450, I think. He paid $450 in an auction. Now, I guarantee you, he will never be able to sell that painting. He will never. That painting basically is a built-in loss because nobody will ever pay that kind of money for that painting. Again. First of all, it is a good chance it's not even a real Da Vinci, and if it is, it's like there's like that thing has been so heavily restored. There's like maybe 20% Da Vinci. Salvatore Mundi. By the way, that painting. This is how stupid it is. That painting now was bought. The whole story. You can Google the story. You Google it. But actually, I told him so. There was the guy who sold it originally. He was trying to sell it for a number of years for $100 million. They couldn't get 100. They sold it for 50. Now, this gentleman was actually a business associate of the colonel. That's right, a business associate of the colonel. We did some transactions together in the low four-figure range, low 4 to 5 figure. But that's what happens in the business, in the art business. One day you're selling a $50 million painting, next day you're selling a $500 painting, whatever. But anyway, so this gentleman was trying to sell it for a number of years through Sotheby's. Sotheby's sold his painting to this French guy, Yves Bouvier, for $50 million. Or 60, I think it was, and he flipped it the next day, like this simultaneous flip for $100 million to a Russian guy, Rybovlev. And Rybovlev, these Russians, these Russians are all lowlives, and you Google it. Now, this Rybovlev, he got pissed because he apparently thought that this guy was his friend and was, selling him paintings for a 1% commission. Come on, a Frenchman selling you, come on. Anyway, he found out that this guy was, God forbid, making a profit on him. And So he sold all his stuff, everything he bought from Bouvier. He sold off, and this painting, it was based like a grudge, whatever, like your angry girlfriend. So he sold the painting at Christie's, and he sold, and it ends up selling for $400 million. This guy was trying to get Bouvier jailed, saying he was ripped off. Meanwhile, he made $300 million. Okay, Rublev made $300 million. Okay, off that. So you Google it now. Where were we? We got distracted. Yeah. So, but anyway, so that Patek Philippe was definitely owned by somebody unsavory. Okay, this was not mentioned by Philips because Philips is dishonest. For example, they never mentioned that one of the watches that they sold, an Audemars Piguet Perpetual Calendar, was owned by Al Goldstein. You know who Al Goldstein is? Famous pornographer, Al Goldstein of Screw magazine, or it was really more of a newspaper. But yeah, Al Goldstein, Midnight Blue. You don't know what that is? You Google Al Goldstein on YouTube. You Google Al Goldstein videos on YouTube. I mean, it's a work of art. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, that guy was a cultural figure, a hero of the Cultural Revolution. And they didn't mention that it was Al Goldstein's watch. Now, that would have brought in more money, but because these people are retards. They're really retards. That guy's a grifter. The Philips guy, what's his name? Aurel Box. Some Swiss grifter. I don't know what he is. French, Swiss. I don't know. These guys are all Chomo Stannies, okay? This guy's a low-life scumbag. He's a used car dealer, dirtbag, and caveat emptor. You know what that means? Caveat emptor. Anyway, so congratulations to whoever is wearing Hitler's Patek Philippe chronograph, perpetual calendar, $17 million. Yeah, you know what? You've been better off buying an Asprey dual time with a partially non-working movement from the Colonel. That's a real investment. That is a real investment. Anyway, gentlemen, we'll see you on the next one.